Hi everybody, it's old Dr. Ivy again. Going to talk about a little bit more nonverbal communication. Chapter 5 is what we are up to now, and Chapter 5 is on physical appearance as a powerful nonverbal cue. Now let's think about it. When you see somebody, coming toward you in a face-to-face situation, what do you take in? The sound of their voice? Handshake? No, not until they get close enough to you to shake your hand. How much eye contact they're making? You may not be able to tell that until they get close enough, right? So think about it. In face-to-face situations or even over technology, the first nonverbal cue we usually take in is physical appearance. How tall is somebody? How big or small or wide or whatever is somebody? Height and weight. How are they moving? What's the face look like? What's the eyes as soon as they come into contact with you? So what are they wearing? What do they got on? Okay, clothing. Piercings, tattoos, wearing a t-shirt that says Boomer Sooner. That would be me, because I'm an OU grad. Anyway, so physical appearance is really, really important. Okay, so take a look. First page, kind of 142, 143 in the textbook. I'm following along here with it too. Yeah, I wrote it, but I don't know every word of it, so I didn't memorize it. I just wrote the dang thing. So physical appearance is important. Your image, body image being just kind of how you view yourself, what's your view of your appearance. Physical appearance is, I will be honest with you, it is the toughest day I have in class. When my co-author and I first wrote this book, we divided up the chapters we were interested in, or, that we would take the lead on, and then the other one kind of came along behind. But he and I equally worked on this chapter because we both had a lot of stock in it. We had a lot of thoughts. We had a lot of stuff we wanted to talk about. And very likely there's going to be 3 videos for this chapter. Most chapters I can get in and out of in 2. This one's got a lot of information, and it's important to talk about. So this is a big, big deal. We spend a ton of money on our physical appearance, cosmetic procedures, appearance, dress, clothing, ways to become more attractive as people physically to others. This chapter covers everything from, clothing and weight and height and skin color and hair and body smell, and we don't spend too much time on that one. And then piercings and tattoos, artifacts like makeup, cologne, earrings. I got my earrings on. Makes me feel a little more dressed up than I normally am here at home. Trust me. So physical attractiveness, I want to just clarify, the first thing on page 145 is the difference between attractiveness and attraction. Both have nonverbal elements, but we study more physical attractiveness. How do people perceive other people in terms of a level of physical beauty, physical attractiveness? Attraction is being drawn to another person for a whole range of reasons. And that has some nonverbal elements. That we won't get to till chapter 12 when we talk about relationships and what draws people together, what people are drawn to nonverbally. But for now, this is on physical attractiveness. We live in a culture where I wouldn't say beauty is everything, but golly, it counts for a lot. Really beautiful people, very good-looking people, very handsome people tend to have all kind of perks in our culture. They tend to have higher status. They tend to earn more income. They tend to have more relationships, be given more attention. There's all kinds of things that are connected with physical beauty in all cultures. And remember, beauty is very cultural. So it is an important factor. It bugs me, though. Y'all got to understand why this bugs me. It bugs me because who gets to say Is there some cultural standard of beauty? Well, yeah. Different cultures have standards of beauty. In some cultures where it's very hard to get food, the most beautiful people, particularly women, are the ones who are very large, quite overweight, because it signifies that you have high status, you have a lot of money, or you are pampered, and you're extremely well fed compared to a lot of other people in that culture. And that may not be the case in the United States, but there are some cultures where people with more weight on them are the higher status people because they have access to food. In American culture, we are really tough on people in terms of physical appearance, and it drives people's self-esteem down, and it's kind of arbitrary sometimes, and it's very individualistic, and for a lot of us, it makes us feel bad about ourselves. And so I've struggled with it, who hasn't? But I've struggled with it a lot in my life. I came from a really beautiful mother, a beautiful older sister, and a beautiful grandmother. And I always felt like I was just average. Not unattractive, not really physically attractive, but just kind of average. And when you're surrounded with really beautiful people, particularly for me, really beautiful women in my family and a lot of my friends, it can be hard on the self-esteem. And so I've struggled with that from time to time. Sometimes I'm doing better with it, and sometimes I'm not, to be honest with you. The older I get, I kind of don't care as much. I mean, I still want to, wear nice clothes and put my earrings on, and I still wear makeup. But I don't care as much as I used to. And that's been really nice. I've kind of let go of some of that crap. Anyway, moving on, physical attractiveness. There's a few things about being highly physically attractive that are perks, and that starts on about page 146 in terms of getting and keeping a job, dating, partnering, marriage. It's interesting, though, there's been some witness testimony research looking at really beautiful witnesses who come into courtrooms and testify. And one of the most interesting studies was done on women, and it seems like there is a diminishing returns. I'm going to do this with this finger. Okay, so you are more persuasive as a beautiful woman testifying in a court case up until a point. And then there's what we call a curvilinear relationship. The effects start to go down because you're perceived as super beautiful, so you can't be very smart. And you're probably not very reliable. And you may have a lousy memory. And so up until a point in beauty, it accentuates your ability to persuade. And then it just plummets. The research was only done on women, so I don't know if it has the same effect on men. Probably not. Same effect with men. Okay, so we start talking about the body on page 147, 148. 148 is research on somatyping, okay? This is Sheldon's research on somatypes. And so maybe you've heard this. Some of y'all have taken maybe a kinesiology course, or maybe you've worked with a trainer or gone to a gym, or, you've studied this somewhere. Sheldon has 3 body types. There's a drawing of it on page 148. Ectomorph tends to be leaner, smaller boned, a little skinnier, okay? Mesomorph is kind of the highest rated in American culture. That's sort of the more athletic or well-proportioned build for men. This is broader shouldered, narrow, tapered at the hip. For women, it's more of the hourglass, but still just kind of more of a muscular body type. And then there's the endomorph, which are more round, more pear-shaped. Some endomorphs are overweight, but not always. Okay, so it's not necessarily connected to weight. It's body shape, it's bone structure. There's a lot of factors. So take a look at that and see what you think. I will tell you that between the year 2008 and 2010, I lost 100 pounds. Yep. At 5'4", I had 100 more pounds on me. I was in trouble, y'all. I was in trouble. Had trouble breathing. Would bend over to tie a shoelace and I'd start wheezing, and I couldn't control that because the air was just pushing out of me. No energy, no stamina. And it doesn't matter I don't ever tell anybody how to lose weight because it's very individual, and I never liked anybody telling me how to lose weight. So I'm not a big proponent on doing that. But I really got good and scared, and I went to a nutritionist and worked with the trainer, and over a 2-year period, dropped the 100 pounds. Now, probably since 2010, so 10 years ago, I've put on maybe 10, maybe 12 sometimes. And I feel very good about that. But I must tell you that as I started losing the weight and the smaller I got, the more visible I became. And you would think that it'd be in the reverse, right? That you'd be more visible the bigger you are, but people tend to not make eye contact with overweight people. Overweight people are kind of invisible in our culture, or looked down upon, or ostracized. And so it happens to a lot of people who lose a really significant amount of weight. When they become more visible and more noticeable, more people notice them, more people say eye contact, more people try to connect with them. Sometimes that's scary to people, and they go right back the other direction and gain all the way back, and sometimes more. And that did not happen to me, but I noticed I was much more visible. People made eye contact with me that would never have, that I would have just not been noticed. Okay? So there's a lot in here about height and weight and status. In American culture, we put a lot of status on height. Think of how tall most of our American presidents have been. Okay? Doesn't work exactly the same way for women, but that it's evening out a little bit. So take a look at the section on height and weight, and I'm going to stop right there and come back to this for another one so that these videos don't get too long. All right. Take care. Thank you, Islanders. See y'all soon. Stay safe.